to the blog. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Yeah, it's so nice to be back again after some while. So, without taking much of your time, I would just head straight to the main, the main deal for the day, and that's ISM. Like most of us all know, ISM is really a broad topic. It's really broad. The code is really wide, and it's not something we can just talk about now and say we've known it all. Because to be honest with you, ISM covers everything we do on board. Once you're a mariner, virtually everything you do on board is governed by ISM. Yes, we have the ISPS, we have the MLC, we have SOLAS, we have every other thing, but ISM is the key. It's one of the key in terms of the marine. So I would like to share my screen with you guys so we can just take it as fast as possible because of the time constraint. But I want you to note something. I'll be sharing just my personal note. It's just a personal note and some bullet points I just did from my master class then. So it's not, I just need you guys to understand that this is just a guide. We need to go and study more. It's not like, how will I put it? It's a note, like I said. It's not something that it's like a regulation or a publication or anything. It's just for a guide purpose. So I'll start sharing the screen for you guys to see. Okay. Okay, so it might not be clear enough for everybody, but I will just read it out so you can also understand see what I'm sharing. I believe most of you can see this, right?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay,
yeah, we can see.
Okay, thank you. So it's like you said from the beginning, what's your understanding about ISM? I will just generally, let's assume you have a cadet on board, you're an officer, you have a cadet, or you're preparing for ISM, ISPS, MLC, and the captain calls you as an officer, oh, second, third, guys, we need to prepare for ISM audit, you understand? So it comes to your knowledge, it comes to your mind. What is this ISM? What are they going to ask you? Who does this apply to? So I will start by saying with the word, what does ISM stand for? Generally, all of us believe ISM is just International Safety Management Code. Yes, it's International Safety Management Code, okay? But the full distance is International Management Code for safe operation of vessel and pollution prevention at sea. You understand? It's for the safe operation of the vessel, pollution prevention at sea. And it applies to certain vessels. That's why you might have a friend on a small cargo vessel, for instance, that's about, let's say, 200 gross tonnage, and you talk to him about ISM, and he's like, oh, I really don't know what ISM is, stuff like that. So in that kind of situation, this applies. So you have to know the vessels this applies to, and ISM applies to all passengers vessels, that's be it on a domestic or international voyage. Cargo vessels above 500 gross tonnage on international voyage. Okay. Then all modules, mobile offshore drilling units, both on domestic and international voyage. Then we also have domestic cargo ships, 500 and above category water. All this, you can go through it in the ISM code. It's not to go more and start giving you too much information. So you can go through this in the ISM code. You have the ISM code publication on board your ship if you are ISM compliance. Now, what are the objectives of ISM? This is one of the major questions that you might be asked in an examination or anything. That, okay, what are the objectives of ISM? Okay. And some of these objectives of ISM, first thing you have to know in mind is this ISM is about safe operation of the vessel and pollution prevention. So for that purpose, it has to do with, human being, that's we crew. It also has to do with, pollution prevention. So what are its objectives? One of its major objectives is to avoid human error. is the safety. Another objective is for the safety of personnel, the environment, and pollution prevention. You understand? That's why I said just put PEP, personnel, environment, kick against the pollution. Then under ISM code, the company should set up the safety management system. I believe most of you are aware of this, your SMS on board the ship. You say, oh, where's your SMS? Is your SMS up to date? And stuff like that. Yes, this SMS is all, they all come out from this ISM code. It's a requirement that your company or your ISM managers, in some companies, like most of you that may work in Nigerian-owned vessels or, locally owned vessels, you might have a vessel owned by a person, but that person is not the ISM managers. You understand? You have to know the difference between, for instance, I work with a Nigerian-owned vessel, okay? My company's name is Petrostuff, but Petrostuff is not the ISM managers. The ISM managers for my vessel is CS Offshore. Okay, it's CS Offshore. And you can even see, how can you know this? One of the places you can know your ISM managers for your vessel is from your continuous notice record of your vessel. Okay, you see it here. On your bridge, in your messroom, you see posters everywhere, like safety policies and stuff like that. You see it, you see the ISM managers. So there's a difference between the ship owner and the ISM manager. And in certain cases, the ship owner can also be the ISM manager. That's if they've gone through the OISM, audits, procedures and everything, and they're in compliance, fine, they can issue them the certificates. Now, talking about certificates, like I said, we have ISM deals with mostly the ship and also the company. We have the ship section of the ISM, and we have the company section of the ISM, which we'll get to. And for those of you that have heard about this certificate, you must have heard of DOC, Document of Compliance, and you've heard of Safety Management Certificates. Yes, this DOC is Document of Compliance. It's issued to the company. It's a certificate, saying that, yeah, that company is in compliance with the ISM code. And after that, issued to the ship, saying the ship is in compliance with the ISM code. But just know it's not a certificate that they just issue. You have to go through a process. This process will get through this process maybe in this class or another class, you understand? But I'm just trying to give you guys the key points. So in case you are asked maybe, oh, what certificates do you have under your ISM and everything? You have so many certificates, but the key certificate you can talk about is the DOC, Document of Compliance, which for the DOC, you don't have the original on board. For those of you that have been fortunate to go through the ship certificates and everything, you only have a copy of the DOC on board. You don't have the original of your DOC on board, but you have the original of the SMC. Okay. So now, I'll say the SMS should meet 6 functional requirements. And when it talks about 6 functional requirements of the SMS, that's the SMS we're talking about, that's the SMS you must have on board. You understand? You have the SMS manual. You guys will know that manual. One big, document like that. They always send hard copy, or some companies just make it easy for you, send you revised copy. And some, you go online, you can get the SMS, current revision, old revision, and stuff like that. So some of the 6 functional requirements of ISM, and what this functional requirement of the SMS means is that for every SMS you have on board your ship, it must meet these requirements. That is to say, the SMS must have these bullet points contained in it. Any SMS without all this, it's not valid as per the ISM code. Okay, and one of that is the safety and environmental protection policy. Your company, your ISM managers issues policy, like drug and alcohol policy, smoking policy. In all those policies, you have pasted where on the bridge, you have them in the messroom, alleyways, and stuff like that. These are questions they even ask you during ISM audits. So we also be like, oh, where are your policies and everything? Yeah, all those policies brought about from the ISM code. So you have the safety and environmental protection policy. You understand? has to be stop work policy. Maybe they actually mention some of your policy, stop work policy, pollution prevention policy and stuff like that. Then you also have operational procedure and routine job. Okay, your SMS must contain details of your operational procedures and routine jobs. I say if I put set up PMS. Some of you have the digital PMS, some of you have normal. All you guys have plant maintenance system generally. So from this plant maintenance system, you see all these your routine jobs, the procedures to follow about your daily routine jobs, it's all based on the ISM code, you understand? So we also have to have a communication line, hierarchy of the company. Yeah, communication line also, in some aspects too falls with MLC, but ISM covers most of all these things too. You have the line of communication. When you talk about line of communication, you want to pass a message or you want to report, don't let me use the word report now, but you want to communicate some matters, you have to go through the line of communication. You don't just feel, oh, because I have access to maybe the managing director or the MD and everything, you can just pick a phone and call him that, oh, we need requisitions for paints and everything. Most of us were fond of that thing, especially when you work on, all these cabotage vessels. You're fond of that thing, like, yeah, maybe you are the AB and you're fortunate to know the MD and the captain or chief officer have sent some requisitions and everything. You just call the MD, Oga, what's happened now? You never supply paint now, all these kind of things, you understand? It's not right in terms of ISM code. There's a line of communication. Even if you need these items urgently, for instance, on deck, you should know, oh, as an AB, you meet your bosun, as a bosun, you meet your chief officer liaise with the captain liaise with the DPA. You understand? There's a line of communication. DPA, we get to DPA, you know who DPA is, knows who to communicate with. And there's also an hierarchy in terms of the company. An hierarchy in terms of the company too. So you know how you communicate things in the company. For instance, you want to put a food requisition or stuff like that. You don't just say, oh, because you're the captain, you call the MD, I need food. There's a hierarchy, there's somebody in charge of that aspect. So that's that for that, okay? And we have reporting procedures, and that's in terms of reporting procedures. We talk about reporting accidents, reporting near misses, reporting non-conformities, major non-conformities, conformities, and stuff like that. You have to have, your SMS have to contain a reporting procedure that, oh, you want to report an accident, okay, in some companies you tell you have to send an initial accident notification for within 2 hours, and submit your accident report within 24 hours. And for non-conformities, you go through your SMS, you see some sections there that tell you, oh, these are to report non-conformities, major non-conformities, report observations and everything. You understand? It's all meant to be contained in your SMS. If you don't know this, whenever you go on board or you're on board now, go through your SMS knowing you're off duty, read through it and stuff like that. Then you have emergency procedures. You understand? The ISM managers or the company will provide you an emergency procedure, and this procedure, it's just to help you. It's not like it's not, how will I put it? It's not something that is, it's you must follow this procedure. Let's say there's fire in an engine room, and you have an emergency procedure that tells you every fire in an engine room, you do this, you do that, you do that. There are certain times you go outside some of these procedures. But what this procedure means is that you must at least, you understand, the procedure is like the minimum things you must do in an emergency. You can go extra mile, to save the emergency situation, but you must have a minimum. Why they do this is because they know after sometimes you go for your OW, read for your OW and stuff like that. When it now comes to the practical, most of you forget some of all these things. You understand? So that's why you have all these emergency procedures in place. Like, oh, if there's grounding, you know what to do. Shut the watertight doors, you do your sounding, know the depth of water, where you are, you know the tide and stuff like that. Then another major aspect is the management review, audits, and procedures. This is mostly for the management team, but it's also good for you to know management review. You have management review from the masters, management review. You have audits carried out in vessels. You have, reviews and stuff like that. You can, for instance, you can check one of your requisitions. Maybe you feel it's not it's not compliant to certain acts, certain requirements as per one of the laws, you can talk to your chiroza. Oh, chiroza, as per this regulation, I think, I think you don't challenge your boss. I think, or I suggest this should be included in the requisition format, you understand? And you can talk with the master, they can do a review, send to the ISM managers, they also go through the review, and if it's okay and they feel yes, this is a valid point, they can review the requisition. And when they review it, you see maybe if your former requisition is revision 0.1, you can see the next revision might be 0.2 year 2022 January, stuff like that. So that's why they review things. That's another topic for another time anyway. So what are companies' responsibilities under ISM? Yes, remember, ISM deals with you, the company, remember, pollution prevention, safe operation of the vessel. Now, one of the requirements of the company is to make sure you have a functional SMS as per the ISM code. Just remember that, okay? But we also have other things that the company needs to do under the ISM code. And one of that is to make sure that they man the ship with certified officers. Certified officers, that's one very key aspect of a company. You have to man your vessel with certified officers. Why? Oh, so many things. You don't want incompetent guys, running your vessel. A ship costs millions of dollars, so you don't want to take such chances, you understand? So you man your ship with certified officers. And if you go through your SMS too, you see requirements for each officers. You see for captain, captain must have this, captain must have that, officer must have this, have that. So they use all this as a guide and make sure when they are, as I see some companies, when they are employing, you understand, they tell you, oh, captain, you must have this, captain, officer, you must have this. It's so painful because some companies, for instance, all these minimum requirements, for instance, that they have in their SMS, they don't even review it. They don't review it. You understand? I've been in a company where I tendered a particular certificate with this NISM. Most of you know about it, NISM, the management section. And I tendered it, and the lady was going through all the certificate, and I was like, this one, we don't know this one, no. This one, you just showed me what you want. She was like, just give me only this one. I don't care about the other ones you have. Just give me all these ones. But what she didn't know is that all these things are being reviewed. So some companies have the SMS and, they don't care about reviewing it and stuff like that. So that's by the way anyway. Company's responsibility, manship, certified officer. Health surveillance, you must have an health surveillance program in place. See some companies, they register you with their hospitals. When during your time off or stuff like that, you can go medical checkup and stuff like that. Maybe you're on board, you fall sick, you understand? They can take you to their hospital. And at the same time, they have, most of you have the first aid hospital, our mini hospital on the ship. One of their requirements is to also make sure that this hospital on the ship is, fully kitted with major things that we need for, first aid and stuff like that. Another thing is to maintain the ship as per national and international regulation. It's a very, 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 very critical aspect of a vessel operation. You understand? It's not about just having a vessel. You must maintain that ship as per the national and international regulations. If you're buying a vessel and you want to send your vessel, for instance, from Africa to certain countries that don't take bullshit, believe me, you need to understand the international regulations. And fortunately, I think most of you that were in the last class, you learned about the M notices and stuff like that. Countries like UK, when they have, they have an update to their regulations, they put it in notices. They have the MSN, the MGN, and stuff like that. So they put it for seafarers, you understand, to read through. Know the outdated ones, know the up-to-date ones. So you read through so that when you are coming to their country, you don't come and say, oh, I wasn't informed. I wasn't informed doesn't go in marine. You understand? So you have to know the national and international regulation. And that is to provide shore support, okay, to ship and master. So when you're talking about shore support, the shore support is very critical, you understand, in the sense that without shore support, you can't run the vessel alone. You get me? You can't run the vessel alone. So it's the responsibility of the office to make sure that you have that shore support. Shore support in terms of requisitions, shore support in terms of requesting for, there are some jobs on the vessel that, you need shore support. Maybe you have an hot job, welding job to do, and you don't have a welder on board, you can request shore support. Provide me a welder for this and stuff like that. Sometimes you request shore support too in terms of requisitions and stuff like that. Shore support is also required when you work with clients and everything. Maybe client needs some special requirement. For instance, let's say you are on a charter and your internet is kind of slow and you need it, the client needs it upgraded or something like that. You have to request shore support. It's the company's responsibility to make sure they provide you with that shore support as per the ISM code. They don't just say, oh, what's captain saying? You have to provide the crew and the master. And that shore support is, let's leave shore support, we'll get to other aspects. So provide resources, stores, spares, assessment and stuff like that. So in terms of resources and stores, you all know what that means. That's like talking about requisitions and stuff like that. It's their duties to provide you your requisitions and stuff like even your PPE and everything falls under this. It's the company's responsibility to provide this PPE, for safe operation of the vessel and pollution prevention. Then this is another aspect, crew training. I know most of us that have not experienced this or work in terms of work with some local companies, they don't provide this crew training. But when you work with certain standard companies and multinational companies, national companies, they carry all these programs, crew training. For instance, I know Bourbon does that too. Doesn't have to be training of sending you to a maritime school, maybe in Singapore or in Malaysia or somewhere. Yes, if they can afford that, it's also good. But if they can't afford that, they can carry out. Now we have so many of all these, what do they call them? For instance, Zoom training classes and everything, you understand? You don't need to go out of the vessel even to carry out most of the training. Company can decide to carry out training for the crew with regards to maybe, let's say, one of the new regulations, like maybe launching of rescue boat and stuff like that. They don't need to send you to check-ins or any other place to go, and they can send their representative on board. They conduct the training for you, and in most cases, they even issue certificates for you to show that you've been trained in this aspect. So it goes a long way. The other company's responsibility is to arrange surveys and audits. It's their responsibility to carry out surveys, their responsibility to carry out audits. But remember, it's your responsibility. Yeah, maybe you're not masters now, but remember, it's your responsibility to be aware of your surveys and your audits. Okay? It's not for the company to remind you. Though it's their duties to arrange it, but as a competent officer, master, and everything, it's your duty to remind them at least 3 months before, 3 months, 2 months before. Oh, I'm due for ISM. My gap is, 3 months before and stuff like that. So you remind them early. It shows that you know what you're doing. Then now we talk about master's responsibility under ISM code. Before I talk about this master's responsibility, there's something under the ISM code that it's a very, very bullet point for captains. But I need you guys to also know because you guys will be captain one day. It's called Master's Overriding Authority. Master's Overriding Authority. And what that means, like it sounds, it's master has the overriding authority, okay, to carry out an operation with regards to the safety of the vessel and pollution prevention at sea, and even in ports. So what that means is, if your vessel is not seaworthy, it's not safe for sea, you as the master have that overriding authority as per the ISM code to tell whoever, be the ship owner, that you will not go to sea because my vessel is not seaworthy, my rescue boat is not in operation, my life raft are expired, my steering pump or this and that is not in operation, And with regards to the safety of your vessel, or my live fire extinguishers have not been serviced as per the annual servicing and stuff like that. So you have the overriding authority as the master. So, and that brings us to the master's responsibility. One of his responsibility is to implement the safety and environmental protection policy. Remember, this safety and environmental protection policy is the functional requirement of SMS. Yeah. Now, the company has put in this safety and environmental protection policy, but the company is not on board, you understand, to enforce it. So it's now your duty as a master to implement it. You understand? You're implementing, you're enforcing it. Another is to motivate the crew to follow policies. Motivate in terms of telling the crew reasons why they have to follow this policy. This can be during your safety talks, your drills and everything. You update the crew. Oh, these are one of the reasons why you need to follow this policy because of this and this. You motivate your guys. Another is to give orders in clear and simple manner. For instance, we have the standing orders and the night order, which you are all aware of. Okay, so one of the responsibilities of the master is to give your order in a clear and simple manner. For instance, as a master, you are not expecting, maybe you have about 3 ratings seated here and you want to send somebody an errand to go and do something that is very important, maybe shut the watertight door. And you just be like, somebody there to go and shut this watertight door. That's not giving an order in a clear and simple manner. Somebody can be anybody, Give your order in a clear, okay, if your AB's name is Wasiu, for instance, you say, Wasiu, go and shut the watertight door. Make it clear and make it simple. Don't make it, Wasiu, waiting you think, the watertight door, it be like say we'll go shut down, I'll be waiting you think. No, make it clear and simple. That's one of the responsibilities as a master. Then it's also your responsibility to verify that specific requirements are being carried out. And what are these specific requirements? Some of the requirements on board, like for instance, you say, okay, no alcohol on board and stuff like that. You have the zero alcohol policies and stuff like that. So how do you verify that this is being met on board? Randomly, you carry out your drug and alcohol test on your crew. Be sure that they are following these regulations. How do you verify that some specific requirements have been, when they are carrying out drills and everything, you understand? Once in a while, you involve yourself in the drills as a master. So you see sometimes the master comes to the drill, sometimes it's not there, sometimes he comes. His duty is to verify that you are following the requirements. You understand? You're not just doing what you think. You're doing what he knows is the right thing as per the regulation. Another of his duties is to periodically review the SMS and post accidents, non-conformities and everything. So master's duty, reviews SMS, office sends the SMS. You as a master review it, check anywhere needs to be updated, maybe upgraded or downgraded. And you send feedback to the ISM managers of the company. They also go through it. Then when you have things like accidents and everything, the master is to follow up the accident, send his reports and stuff like that. Then non-conformities, send your non-conformity, make sure that your non-conformities are closed out, you understand? It's not just about raising a non-conformity, it's to ensure that you also close out these non-conformities. So yeah. Also close out these non-conformities. It's not just raising the non-conformities. So I have here examples of overriding authorities. For instance, live boy, okay, you have live boy drill 3 months and everything. Yes, as a master, for instance, now, let's say, the normal live boat drill where you have to launch your live boat 3 monthly at every 3 months. And you are 3 months is due, you are at sea. Yes, their SMS says you have to launch it every 3 months. But you are at sea and the weather is rough. You as the master can take the overriding authority and say, okay, chief officer, I'm canceling this drill for now. Don't launch. You can carry out the procedures, but when you get to the stage of launching, you don't launch because the weather is rough. It's not safe to carry out this launching at this period. So that's one of The ways master can exercise overriding authority. So another is increase of speed to water and stuff like that. So that's just by the way anyway. Now I'll just briefly talk about the certificate audit and under the ISM. Like I said earlier, ISM falls in two places. You have the company section and you have the ship section. And this, it's the procedure of getting certificates. So I'll just briefly just give you brief discussion about this. Okay, the company goes through our own audits. Okay, the company, after going through our audits and everything, the company is issued an interim DOC. Remember, this DOC valid for 6 months. Okay, can be extended for another 6 months. So after these 6 months, they come for another, maybe flag state, post state, come for another audit. Check that, okay, the company is still complying with everything they laid down during the initial audit. Then issue them the full one, the full DOC, valid for 5 years. And the DOC has annual, okay, there's annual audit, second, third, fourth year for the company. This for the company generally. And after these 5 years, they go for the renewal DOC. Okay, we have to renewal audits. Auditors come on board, come to the company, I mean, check that the company is still complying with the requirement of the ISM. Remember, I'm just trying to rush everything just to give you guys a brief understanding of the ISM. Understand? So when this is being done, the renewal is on. So remember, the first one issued to the company is the interim, valid for 6 months, can be extended for another 6 months. And after that, another audit is carried out. Then the full DOC is issued. The full DOC is valid for 5 years, subject to annuals. Okay. And after the 5 years, you also do the renewal audit. You understand? And when you do the renewal audit, remember, there's some things I just want you to know. DOC for a company that runs different types of vessels, different fleets of vessels, for instance. Let's say you run offshore vessels and you run bulk carrier. Okay. One DOC, okay, with just bulk carrier will not cover up for your offshore vessels. So they are going to carry out the audits for your bulk carriers, carry out the audits for the company for a section of bulk carriers and issue you for the bulk carrier, then carry out another audit, then issue you for the offshore, for your offshore vessels. These audits can be carried out at once, but what I mean is that the certificates for bulk carrier does not cover the offshore vessels. You understand? So now, okay, when does a company get interim DOC? Okay, can ask, when do you get the interim DOC? Remember, the interim DOC is the first one issued to you. That's when a new company is formed. Let's say you guys get so rich and you want to start your company and you're your ISM managers, fine. They'll issue you the interim DOC first. Then when a ship type is added to the fleet, okay, a new ship type, like I was just trying to explain. Let's say you'll be running bulk carriers and you buy an offshore vessel, offshore supply vessel. You won't say, oh, because you have DOC for your bulk carriers, your DOC covers your offshore vessels. No, you have to carry out another audit for your offshore vessels. You understand? So another one is when the flag is changed. Yeah, that's much expected. You're flying Liberia flag, you decide to change your flag to, let's say, Nigeria flag. Definitely Nigeria would want to carry out our own DOC for the company. So remember, DOC is for the company. And for the ship is SMC. Same step applies for the ship, but in a different pattern. Now for the ship, audit is carried out on board. Surveyor comes, checks this, checks that, check this, yes, checks your SMS and everything, checks your policy, issues you an interim SMC, valid for 6 months. You, okay, he would visit again, just to check that you are complying with every aspect of the regulation. If you're complying, they give you the SMC, the full SMC. In most cases, to be honest with you, depending on the record of your company now, your company, their management and stuff like that. Some companies issue the interim, during the audits and everything, they see that your vessel is performing well. They might not even come back to carry out the audit for the full SMC. But in most cases, as a regulation, they have to come back, which need for 5 years. The full SMC, this full SMC, after it has been issued to you for 5 years, it doesn't mean you are not going to carry out any other audits till the 5 years is complete. Unlike the DOC, that the audit is carried out yearly for the company, for the SMC, it's carried out intermediately, okay, between the 2nd and 3rd year anniversary dates. Okay, between the 2nd and 3rd year anniversary dates. That aspect is always very confusing. For most people will be like, what do you mean by between the 2nd and the 3rd year anniversary dates and everything? So I will explain that to when we get to the stage. Then after the 5 years, okay, you now do the renewal. You do the renewal audit. After the renewal audits, you get your certificates. Now, I'll give you some key points you need to know. Now, when does the ship get interim SMC? Just like the company, when does the company get the interim SMC? You get an interim SMC for a new ship. Okay? Then you also get an interim SMC when a new company takes over the ship. Might be a new shipping company, might be a new ISM managers take over. Okay? And when the vessel changes flag. So when she changes flag, you also have to be issued the interim. The point I need you guys to understand is that for a new ship, you are not just issued your full SMC certificate. You are issued the interim first, which is valid for 6 months, before you are then issued the full SMC certificate. Okay, and before you can be issued your SMC certificate, your company must have undergone the process of their DOC. The company would have been issued their DOC, and that DOC would have been for the specific type of your vessel, you understand? Okay. Okay, all these other ones are just some of my key points. I won't go fully in depth to ISM. I'm also watching time to understand this, but okay, what I just wrote here is the SMC audit is done 3 months prior to the original date. And then the new certificate will start from the date of renewal. So this just like I don't know how I will explain it to you guys now that you understand, but I think you understand that later in the career. There are some companies that do play politics in terms of certificates, because certain certificates are valid. You can carry out their audits or survey 3 months before and 3 months after the particular dates you are meant to do. Let's say you have an annuals due for, let's say, today now. You can carry out the annuals 3 months before today or 3 months after. So some companies do feel maybe they are smart. They go and wait till the 3 months after, thinking maybe if you do that 3 months after, it will keep extending the dates, you understand? So most of all these things, the ISM code understands all these tricks. And what they do in most cases is that even if you wait till 3 months after, it will still carry the dates that it's meant to carry. That's the, let's say today's date, for the next 1 year, it's going to pick today, 1 year from now as the next date for your annuals. It's not going to say because you waited 3 months after, it's not going to extend your next date of your annuals. And they are doing that to also let the company know that you have to monitor your audits, your surveys, you understand, and your inspection. You have to monitor it and make sure they are done at the right time. They only give most of these 3 months before and 3 months after grace period because it's understandable that when you come for audit surveys, you find some non-conformities. And some of these non-conformities need time to close. So they give you some grace period so that you can close this thing. Let's assume you have your SMC, you do your SMC 3 months before the due date. Let's say the renewal, you understand? If you come up with any major non-conformities, you understand, you have enough periods to close this out without it affecting your SMC certificates. You understand? But when you wait till last minute and you have non-conformity, in most cases, you fall out of, let's say for class, say you fall out of class, you understand? You fall out of the ISM code. And when you're out of ISM code, believe me, all your other certificates are invalid. That's one very strong thing about the SMC, the ISM distinct code as the ISM ISPS with MLC. When you go out of their, how we put it, their audit period, it affects other of your certificates. You just find out that other of your certificates, though the expiry date is still far, they become null and void because your SMC is already gone. The SMC is being cancelled. It's just like maybe class certificate. Class, for those who know about class, though class is not a statutory certificate. If you go out of class, your insurance certificate is automatic. Your insurance is already automatically cancelled because most insurance that they issue to you is based on your class. And when you're out of class, your insurance is cancelled. So that's just by the way. Okay, now, this, how does ISM affect you as a third mate, second mate, chief officer? This is a very, very good question. Okay, remember our key points when we started. Safety, pollution prevention at sea, at port, and everything. So how does it affect you as a second officer? It affects you as a second officer because it brings to your knowledge that you have to be safety conscious in everything you do. Before you do any job, before you go into that enclosed space, before you do that hot job, before you do that bunkering operation, you have to think ahead. You have to be safety conscious. You have to go through your SMS, read through your SMS, that what does your SMS say about this job? Okay, and you also have under your SMS, you also have to know of these things. You know, your PPE matrix and stuff like that. Under your SMS, you have to know what and what you have to wear before carrying out any job. When it comes to pollution prevention, yes, pollution prevention, you can say, oh, that's MAPU, that's IOPP. No, yes, MAPU, IOPP is also their own aspect. But the ISM2 also covers the section of that because you have to make sure that as your vessel is being safety conscious, as you are being safety conscious at sea, to make sure that your vessel is safe at sea, you also have to make sure that your vessel too is also safe for the marine, the marine life, the fishes in the water and everything like that. You don't just because you say, oh, I've made my vessel safe, you now go, you pollute the water. When you pollute the water, you kill the fish. When you kill the fish, you of course pollution. That oil that has spilled overboard, it's going to flow definitely to one community. And when it gets to that community, you've affected life. So that's why the ISM it covers the safety and pollution prevention of we, crew, the environment, you understand? The crew, the environment, and the vessel. The vessel has to be safety conscious. You don't just take your vessel to sea when you know the vessel is not seaworthy and everything, and you go to sea, God forbid, That's one of the things we observe now. Most of you heard about the FPS or ZFSO that exploded, that's I think last month. For my own view, I don't think she was complying with the ISM code. And she ended up becoming, safety was breached, people died. Pollution was also breached because she polluted the environment. And you could not from the video, you guys notice the, fire and everything cause so much pollution to the environment. It's going to cost so much now to clear the oil spill and everything. So another aspect is the operational procedures. Okay, as per ISM, how does it relate to you? This ISM is one of the things that bring the SMS, like I said. And this SMS contains what? Your requirement for passage planning, your requirement for cargo loading, your requirement for pre-arrival, okay, pre-departure checklist, your emergency checklist, your approaching rough weather or student visibility checklist and stuff like that, approaching ports checklist. So those are those operational procedures that you have in place. So you have to know that for every operation you're carrying out on the vessel or you're using the vessel to carry out, there's a procedure in place which should be contained in your SMS. Then, how does it still affect you as a third officer? Affect you in terms of communication. Remember when we're talking about the communication line? You should be able to know the communication line, know the hierarchy of the office, of the company. So you know your communication line as a third officer, you know, oh, you have a matter, you guys communicate with your second officer, pass to your chief officer. You don't just go straight to the master. Communicate with, you know the line of communication. And when you want to communicate with the office too, you don't just call the MD. There's somebody we call the DPA. That's designated person assure. I will talk about that person here. So I'm almost rounding up. So communicate with the DPA. Then it can also affect you because you have to know the reporting procedure. So when there's an accident or an incident, you have to know that for every accident or every incident or non-conformity, there's a report you have to fill. Why is this report? So that people can go in. That's you, crew, the master, the short team can study more about this accident, and know what caused it to prevent it from happening again. Or if it's a non-conformity, if it's a near miss, how you can avoid this from happening again, you understand? The emergency procedures, I told you that we have the emergency procedures on board. So how does ISM affect you as a second officer? Oh, it affects me because it makes me aware of my emergency procedures on board, which are emergency procedures like fire, abandoned ship, landing, so many emergencies you can think about. It's just that when we talk about emergencies, most of us, when we talk about fire, the first thing we go is fire in the engine room, fire in the engine room. Nobody thinks of fire in the bridge, fire in that. So how does it affect you? We have the management review. Why do they call it management review? It doesn't mean that you as a low-rank officer or a third officer cannot review. What it means is that you can go through a document, you can review it, but pass to the management, chief officer, captain. Then they will use their years of experience to also go through it and tell you why it's like that or why they feel it should be reviewed. Then pass to the management. You understand? Then, okay, also company effects. How does it affect you as this thing? Crew training, health surveillance, shore support, and stuff like that. Remember, risk assessment is one of the things that also came up under the ISM, risk assessment. And for most of you, in previous class, we've talked about risk assessment and stuff like that. Okay, like the name sounds, you are assessing the risk. You want to know the risks. You want to know, in a layman's language, you want to know how would I put it? You want to know the level of risk. Is it how dangerous it is? Is it safe to carry out, or do you need mitigating measures to be put in place, or control measures to be put in place, or do you need to stop that job and stuff like that? So that's risk assessment. I believe previous class you can just maybe watch the video or something, get information about that. So these are definitions just to remember. ISM. Somebody asks you what is ISM. ISM, yes, International Safety Management Code, but the full meaning is that it's the International Management Code for the safe operation of the vessel and for pollution prevention. Okay. Now, under ISM, talk about company. Who do they refer to as the company? Company means owner of the ship or any other organization or person, such as managers, bareboat charter, who has assumed the responsibility for operating the ship, for operating of the ship from the ship owner, and who on assuming such and such has agreed to take over all duties, responsibility imposed by the code. Remember when I told you guys that your ship owner doesn't have to be your ISM manager. You might have your social person might be the ship owner, but the ISM managers are the people, they are the key set of people that have assumed the responsibility for the operation of the vessel, okay, and they've assumed that responsibility from the ship owner, except if the ship owner is also the ISM manager, which you can also see in the continuous synopsis record. You see whoever is holding which position. Administration means the government of the state whose flag represents non-conformity. We have difference between, for those of you who don't know, we have what they call non-conformity, major non-conformity, and objective evidence. I'll just read through this because of time. Non-conformity means an observed situation where objective evidence indicates the non-fulfillment of a special requirement. Okay, you can just take note of that. Maybe another class we will talk more about it. The major non-conformity means an identifiable deviation that poses a serious threat to the safety of personnel or the ship and includes a serious risk to the environment that requires immediate corrective action and includes lack of effective and systematic implementation of a requirement of this code. Major non-conformity. One of the major non-conformity, for instance, we can say is what? We can say maybe your lifeboat is not in operation. Lifeboat is not in operation, or your life raft due for servicing and was not carried out, and not servicing wasn't carried out. Or let's say your extinguishers were not serviced, or you don't even have up to the required extinguishers on board, okay, as per your safety plan. Okay, these present a serious threat to the safety of personnel on board. Okay, and also serious risk to the environment. When your vessel is not seaworthy, or your bilge systems, for instance, your bilge alarms are not working, your bilge sensor alarms are not working, and everything, so you cannot know when you have overflow in your bilge and stuff like that. You understand? Those are major issues and put serious risks to the environment. Okay. Another major non-conformity is when you're even below minimum safe manning. It's a major non-conformity. Then objective evidence means, okay, or quantitative or qualitative information, record, or statement of fact pertaining to safety or to the existence and implementation of safety management system element, which is based on observation, measures, or tests which can be verified. So you can, maybe you notice during your ISM, they raise some observations like, okay, some of the observations was that maybe, let's say, most of you know about this stop work card you have on board, you understand? Stop work cards and observation cards you have on board. Okay, maybe as per your SMS, you are meant to fill about 30 observations, which can be positive or negative. And, during the internal audits, they find out that came on board, the crew are not feeling it. Okay, it just came, they meant about 5 for last month, which means like that. So that means, records or stuff like that are not, the safety management system is not being followed. That's your SMS that the company puts in place. SMS say 30, but you're just doing 5. It means most of the people are not aware of all this and they're not following it. So you can put it in this internal audit, like as an observation. And that reminds me. So before you can carry out an external audit for ISM, there's also always an internal audit. As per your SMS, you might have it annually. Some companies have it 2 times in a year. So what does that mean? Some companies don't want the external auditors to come on board for you guys to fuck up. So they prepare every year and say, okay, fine, we come on board to check. And it's also a requirement for, as per the ISM code, that the company has to come to check this item, check that you are complying with your safety management system, your ISM code. Excuse me, please. So they come maybe once every year to check that you are complying. Apart from the master verifying, the company is also coming on board, sending their representative during internal audits to verify that you're complying. So as how would I put it? As the master is verifying, the company also comes and they also verify, because SMS, the ISM, like I said, is a very, very wide, this thing and very important aspect of the ship operation. Now, designated person. There's someone we always call the DPA, for those of you that heard about this DPA, designated person ashore. And this person, okay, if someone asks you, who is the DPA of your company? It's one of the key personnel you need to know when you sign on board a ship. Who is the DPA? Who is the deputy DPA? Some companies call him deputy DPA, some call it alternative DPA. A DPA, okay, is a person that serves as a link between the highest level of management and those on board. That's just the shortest form of response. Okay, it serves as a link between the highest level of management and those on board. You understand me? With regards to the safe operation of the vessel, pollution prevention, and he has the highest level, has the direct access to the highest level of management. What do I mean? It's a link between we on board the vessel and the company. But it's not just a link with the company. He has direct access to the highest level, okay, of management. So he has direct access to, let's say, for instance, the ship owner or the MD. That's if that company is under the ISM, or if the company is the ISM managers, or he has access, direct access linked to the big boss. Let me use it that way. And at the same time, has access to the ship crew and also to the master, because the master is the owner's representative on board, and it's also the highest level on the ship. You get? So he serves as a link between those two positions. Remember, he also ensures the safe operation of the vessel. And what again does he also do? One key point that he also does is he also monitors the safety, pollution prevention aspect of the vessel and ensures that the vessel has adequate resources and shore support provided at the right time. Get the point? It's not just serving as a link to pass your message and everything, but it's also to make sure that he ensures that you have adequate resources. All your requisitions are supplied. Shore support that you need is provided to you. PPE is provided to you. Everything that you need with regards to the safety and pollution prevention of that vessel. And when you talk about safety of that vessel, it doesn't only mean the requisition and your PPE. Everything regarding safety, like make sure that your machineries are all in order, you understand, your life-saving apparatus, your firefighting apparatus, they are all in order. Your super for pollution is all in order. Your super plugs, you understand, everything are all in order. It's to make sure you have all these resources and make sure that you have shore support and make sure that all the resources you need, okay, to make sure that vessel is safe and pollution and we comply with the pollution prevention requirement of ISM. And it's also to monitor it. Not just, okay, every captain you have everything, it's to monitor. And how does it come monitor? It can come on board for your internal ISM audit that I was talking about. DPA can decide to come, okay, I want to monitor the safe operation and pollution prevention of this vessel as per the ISM code. So I'm coming on board tomorrow for internal audits. That's all we're calling out there. And he can come, he can send the deputy DPA, or he can send the alternative DPA, whatever name they call it in the company. Okay, remember his job, safe operation of the vessel, access to the highest level or authority, management and the ship, monitor the safe operation, provide shore support, and is the link. So time is fast spent. I'll just push through this. How do you prepare for ISM audits? So how to know ISM is working or not? So how do you know if your vessel is complying with ISM audits? How do you know? You join the vessel for the first time and they tell you, or you join a brand new vessel. Oh, chief officer, we are paying for ISM. You know, this is a brand new ship. As per requirements, she needs to have the, SMC certificate. But remember, she will only be given the interim because it's a new ship. That she'll be giving only that interim after the office has passed her own DOC section. The office has to pass her own before you now come and do the ship own. Office has to prove to authorities that they are prepared to run the vessel, and they put in all these measures in place to run the vessel. When officers done their own part, they will now come to the ship. The office said she's going to do. You understand? So ISM audits. Auditor comes on board. First thing they always do is opening meeting. Oh, Captain, can I see your chief engineer and some of your crew? Let us talk. Let me explain to them what I'm here for and blah, 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 blah. They come, they tell you in the right way. This is what we're here for and everything. So opening me to what? Your certification. So you go through the ship certificate, go through the ship crew certificate. In compliance with the minimum safe manual of the vessel and in compliance with the national and international regulation. Checks all this, checks that, okay, fine, everything is in order. It goes to the SMS, this SOCREM. This SOCREM is just the abbreviation for this item, SOCREM, okay? And that is when you talk about, let me just show you briefly here. That is the requirement of the SMS, safety. So he's going to check this, that your SMS contains this SOCREM, that's the safety and environmental protection policies, operational procedures and routine job, communication line hierarchy, reporting procedures, emergency procedures. So he's going to check this, okay? And how will you do that? You can take your SMS, vet through to be sure that it contains all this. Or in most cases, you can ask questions. Then the keyword overriding authority can most time, like I have experience where auditors come up and they're like, Captain, can you show me your SMS where your overriding authority is clearly stated? And I pick the SMS, I show him where it is. He wants to be sure that the captain knows the overriding. He asks you, okay, what do you understand by overriding authority? They do that a lot. Then any amendment, you understand, he also checks that. Then objective evidence, he checks for objective evidence. What are the objective evidence? Objective evidence are mostly our hard copy evidence that we know about, like your checklists, emergency procedures that you have, a bridge record book, oil record book, PMS, ballast record, garbage record. These are your drills record, your safety meetings, your risk assessment, like I told you, your permit to work, understand? Check for non-conformity. Remember, there's a difference between major non-conformity, and objective evidence. Okay, check your SMS reviews and bell logs and stuff like that. So for master, you also talk with the master. This PMC VR is just an abbreviation of master's responsibility that I talked about here. I'm just trying to show you guys so you don't get lost in any of those abbreviations. PMC, that's PMCV, implement master's responsibility. You understand? So he wants to know if master knows his responsibility under the ISM code. Okay, and most importantly, DPA and overriding. And we ask the crew too, who is the DPA? Where is it posted? It's meant to be posted on the bridge, mess room, and the alleyway. Then crew member, he asks you your job. One thing most crew don't know is inside in your SMS, every crew's job description is stated in the SMS. As an AB, your job description is stated in the SMS. As an OS, your job description is, as second officer, tier officer, your job description is still in the SMS. If you don't know that, when you go on board next, you go to your SMS and you see your job description. Then he asks you who is the DPA, who is the alternative DPA, where is he posted? Do you have access to him? You're meant to have a poster with his name, his email address, phone number, and everything. You can call him at any time. Okay, then it takes a walk around. Then in most cases, you can call the TOS. Okay, TOS, I want you to carry out a drill. Observe the drill. Observe that every requirement of the drill after the SMS is being followed. Then after this, if it's okay with everything, he does the closing meeting. Even if it's not okay, we do the closing meeting too. Except maybe you piss him off and he decides not to do the closing meeting, just close on his own. If you are good to go, he gives you the certificate, everything being okay. If you are not good to go, he gives you either an observation and NC or major NC. That's why I said this observation, major non-conformity and major non-conformity is something we have to discuss later. Okay. Then if he gives you any of this observation, non-conformity, major non-conformity. For observation, it's not bothered. In most cases, when they give an observation, they still issue your certificate. An observation is just like, okay, well, we once had an observation, our sounding pipe, okay, sounding pipe was the screw type, okay? So and it's on the main deck, so you unscrew it to sound, then you screw. One of the surveyor once came and he said, oh, this method, it's also okay, but in some situation whereby somebody unscrews in rough weather and something, and the vessel is rolling and everything, this screw, if it doesn't screw it back well, it might roll off or something. Roll off, and maybe because the guy is feeling seasick, the wave and everything, it doesn't take time to go and look for it. So he puts a recommendation that in addition to the screw, we can also put an additional method of securing the sounding pipe cap, the cover, you know, that cover we use for sounding. I put an observation that we can also put you know, an additional means of securing it so that in the rough weathers and everything, when you open it, you don't forget it and it rolls off and everything. Observation is for you to follow and for you not to follow. And the honest truth is, till I left the vessel, we didn't follow the observation. Okay, then non-conformity, major non-conformity. When they give you this, action plan, that's like, what's your plan? You understand? What's the plan you have in place to close this non-conformity and major non-conformity? So what's your corrective action plan? For instance, now, maybe it comes on board one of your fuel cargo pump. You have two, and one is not in operation. Maybe you have a fault with something, one of the parts, let's say maybe your, I don't know, one of the parts with regards to your cargo pump, and your company has placed order. Maybe it's taking them 3 months to deliver, and that 3 months falls between your ISM. Surveyor comes, oh, what's your corrective action plan? Okay, sir, this is evidence that I've requested for. It's going to take 3 months to deliver. Now, it's beyond your power. The surveyor has the option of either canceling your certificates or tells you to request for something they call flag dispensation for certain things, flag dispensation. And he can tell you to also develop a management of change, something they call management of change. And in most cases, management of change falls in place when it comes to I'll just cite my own example, for instance, and I'll hand the class up. Okay, we had ISM audit external. One of our fuel cargo pump was not in order. He came, put it as an observation, he put it as a non-conformity, and we showed him objective evidence, you know, corrective action plan, I mean. Oh, see the evidence that the company has placed order, but it's taking 3 months. They can't bring it as fast as before because of the COVID lockdown as at 2020 and everything. I was like, okay, fine. He understands the whole situation of the COVID and everything. I was like, okay, fine. What we're going to do now in this aspect is that you're going to do what? You're going to, Captain, you're going to provide me management of change. Management of change is another topic entirely, but mostly management of change when, like the name sounds, something is in place and you want to change it. Okay, from maybe you're used to starting your car with key, then maybe your key starter now gets spoiled, you are broke, you don't want to buy a new key starter. You now take 2 wire, you know, you join the wire to start the vehicle. So use that wire join. You need to do a management of change because that's not the way the Igbo man that did the vehicle did it. Now you just change them because you don't get money. So that's by the way. So you have to provide the management of change for that. So that's how it went in that aspect. Provide the management of change that we're using only 1 cargo pump and we'll be supporting the 1 cargo pump with our 2 transfer pump. And when you're doing the management of change, you also have to add it to the risk assessment. And in some cases too, the surveyor will tell you, okay, before he honors all this evidence, you also have to provide maybe a flag dispensation. In most cases, they need a flag dispensation. Maybe you are below your minimum save money and you want to sail the vessel. Or maybe your life valve is expired and you could not do annual servicing in the ports. You are okay, you can request flag dispensation. Flag dispensation that, okay, I'm giving dispensation that from depending when you're living on airport and you're getting to Las Palmas or you're getting to wherever you're going to, I'm giving a dispensation okay, you can go to sea with certain measures in place. Maybe your office will provide, for instance, maybe your lifeboat is spoiled, your office will provide additional life raft for you, make sure that the life raft on the port side can accommodate the entire crew on board and stuff like that. So they'll give you a flight dispensation, you have to provide a management of change, risk assessment. So all these are things that are, when you bring them all together, they form what? A corrective action plan. You understand, for a non-conformity or a major non-conformity. So that's just by the way. Time is fast spent. Now, forget these new amendments. Why I say forget this new amendment? Because this is as July 2010. There are more amendments that has come out. Read your M notices, and if you don't have any of it on the M notices, all you need to do is just go on YouTube, download the ISM, look for the current revision, and most of it is covered up by the listing. Then laid up ships and when you talk about laid up ships, live ship and dead ship, I will not go into this because this is for maybe when you guys get to your chief mates, your master level, and that, you understand. Last on the list is how to implement safety environmental policy and how to motivate crew. So if somebody asks you, how do you motivate your crew under the ISM code? You can make them read SMS manuals and sign on joining. Remember, you have to sign your SMS manual, read and sign, lead by example, have regular safety meetings. Or if somebody asks you, how does your chief officer ensure that your vessel complies with SMS, or how do you, or you want to know, you sign on a new ship and you want to know if that vessel complies with SMS without asking anybody, you expect to see virtually almost all this in place. You have safety video, safety quiz, okay, check galley hygiene, okay, plaza displayed, permit to work issued, vessels operating on a permit to work system, near mix box. These ones are like observation boxes and everything. Research criteria, hours of rest. Remember, very, very important, hours of rest. That's why I said ISM, MLC, one way or the other, they are integrated into one another. So that being said, I think I will just round up the class here. These are not any major distinction, but what are the elements of ISM? Generally, these are the elements of ISM: safety and environmental policies, protection policy, company responsibility, designated person ashore, master responsibility, resources and personnel, okay? Shipboard operations, emergency preparedness, report analysis of non-conformities, accident, hazardous, maintain stance of ship and equipment documentation, complaints verification and review, evaluation, certification and periodic verification, interim certification forms. Okay, so how do you make changes to the SMS? Briefly, to make changes to SMS, in your SMS form, there's always a section, there's always a place. Your company might name it whatever name they want to put, but there's always a section, okay, for review and for changes. Okay, maybe review and everything. You always see it in your SMS. Okay, so you fill this document change form. If it's document change and everything in your SMS, you fill it out to make change to element. Detailing what you want to change, or you want to review, or you want to amend, then send to your company. Remember, if you are a second officer, you don't just do it and send to your company. You have to pass it through the chief officer, line of communication. Chief officer discusses with the captain. If they put it together and they deem it's worth it based on current regulation or based on the operation of the vessel, okay, then pass to the company. Company will make necessary changes, then issue new pages. Okay, so that section of the SMS that is affected, okay, they will now issue a new page and send the ship an amendment number. Like I was telling you earlier, maybe revision 0.0 that you had before, 0.0 2019, you can send you revision 0.1 2022. Then once you receive these changes, you should update your SMS and also update your amendment log. Remember, an amendment log, after the first page and the second page, you see the amendment log. I think the second or third, there's one page for, after reading the SMS you signed, there's also amendment page. Remember, your SMS has so many of all these amendments, log, distribution logs, and stuff like that. Then make sure you discuss these changes with the ship staff in the next available safety meeting. Very, very critical. If there's changes in any of the SMS, you don't just file it, remove the old one and file the new one and record it, just like your chat corrections. You correct it, you file it, then you record it. But this time, you also have to discuss it with your safety, with your crew. And talking about chat correction, some of you second officers, you are fan of doing something, you correct the chat. Let's say the chat is affected, now you correct it. You don't discuss with the bridge team. That's what we call breach team management. When there's a chat affected and you've corrected, you take note of it. When your officer is on the bridge and your third officer, you tell them, and when you have opportunity to have copy, so chat would always follow when going to maybe Cameroon or when going to Angola or Gabon. Certain areas are affected. They've changed the reporting procedures. They've changed this. They've changed that. You let them know that's breach this thing. So same applies with when you're updating your SMS. When there's any changes, you have to carry along your crew, carry out a safety meeting, record it, let them sign. Then MCA have to be informed about changes in next audit. Why you have to inform MCA? Let's remove MCA for now because that's UK. Inform the flag. Why you have to inform them? Because if the changes is something that has to do with the operation of the vessel, they will be the one to also assess it too. You understand? And find out if it's really worth the changes you get. So maybe you made changes to some things like maybe the location of your super box and everything. Remember when you are doing that changes, maybe due to the operation of your vessel, you change your super box location and everything. You also have to inform your flag because as per your safety plan of your vessel, they've designed the point where that super box should be. Sorry. So if you and your management changes the position, which is okay for maybe a reason due to the operation, you also have to inform the flag. In most cases, you even inform them before the changes. Yeah, they say MC has to be informed them about the changes in next audit. I will advise that you even inform them earlier, especially if it has to do with safety and pollution. When you inform them earlier before even carrying out the amendment in your SMS, just give them an heads up. Your company sends an email to them notifying them and gives you a copy of the mail or writing. Put in writing, keep a copy of the acknowledgement so that in case they come for the next audit, you can pass to them that I've passed this across to the flag state. So that is that. Now I've taken most of your time. Sincere apologies. And
Yeah, thank you, Captain Tolu. That was that was everything. Even in ISM was just being covered in a short time, and I really learned quite a lot, even new things as well. Thank you very, very much. So you're just giving it to us back to back. And the thing I like about your presentation is you're making it look exactly like an exam mode, because most of these questions are what we have seen in past questions, especially in oral reports as well. So I know, yeah, you will continue when we have the part 2 of this ISM lecture. I was going to be surprised if we could cover everything in one day. And we're still going to be looking at more of these questions. Where are these questions coming out from when we have an ISM question embedded in our exams? So thanks. It's really a lot. And I'm sure that the students in the class, they will have to do, they will have to go back again when I put it on YouTube and look at all these questions. But guys, these questions, Captain Tolu, I mean, both the questions and the answer Captain Tolu have treated this evening. This is how, these are the questions and this is how it comes out when we are faced with exam questions. So I'm going to plead with him to share his notes with us so we can all go back and use it for revision and also use it to brush ourselves up. Like I said, there will be a part 2 because there was no way we could cover the whole ISM lecture. But part 2 now will make it broader. Captain Tolu has just laid the foundation for us in a very good and concrete way. So we'll build on that foundation next week as well. I know time is running out. Thanks, Captain Tolu. Serious, we can't thank you enough. We don't know if Captain Joshua or Captain Tayo have anything to add.
No, this is what they say. Okpo. After this, all of us just go and become DPA. Thanks, Captain Tolu. The confidence, at which the confidence you are sending to the students. Once you know your stuffs, you won't have a problem. I think that's one of the big major lessons for me, and I think the students as well. Know your stuffs, and you'll be able to explain it, not just for exam, the professionalism as well. It's more my key thing as well. So, you know, not just to pass exam, but the fact that we can all, you know, be confident, share this thing like we are really professional seafarers. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. I think with that, we'll just put a stop to the class. Sorry that we ended up early late, but we just couldn't stop the class. It was just pouring down like manna. It's not every day we have such manna coming down. So we'll look forward again to seeing us next week. So let's come prepared. But I would really like us to come also with the knowledge that we've gathered from today, so that we can build on it next week as well. All right. Thanks again. Thanks, Captain Tolu. Thank you very much. Captain Joshua, aside to the bishop, we are praying with you. Every single prayer point, just drop it on the group chat. And JJ, NA, everyone, thanks, sir. And see you next week then.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.